Hey guys, we're going to get into section 1.6 today, and we're going to do some order of operations and evaluating expressions. So again, if you want to pause the video and copy these notes down, this is something that should be really familiar to you guys. Most of you have learned the order of operations using this acronym PEMDAS. Notice I wrote it a little bit different. I put the M and D together and the A and S together. That's actually really important. So P represents parentheses or grouping symbols. So these are the different ones that we'll see. E is for exponents and roots. Roots are the inverse of exponents, so those come next. And then if we jump to multiplication and division, they're the same level. They're inverses of each other. We just do whichever one we see first. So we always work from left to right, just like we read. Addition and subtraction is the same thing. Whichever one we see first, working from left to right, is what we do first. Okay, so let's try some examples. So when we are working through an expression and we want to simplify, we want to look at what operations there are. So right now I have subtraction and division. Division comes before addition or subtraction in our order of operations, so I'm going to do this first. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I just rewrite everything else exactly the same. So now 3 minus 2, that's my only operation, so 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, in this example we have 3 operations. I have subtraction, division, and multiplication. So subtraction is the very last one. Division and multiplication, those are the same level. So we do which one we see first. So as I'm working from left to right, 18 divided by 2 happens before the multiplication, so we're going to do that first. 18 divided by 2 is 9. I'm going to rewrite everything else exactly the same. So I have 7 minus, and then times 4. Now I can do the multiplication. 9 times 4 is 36. Rewrite everything else exactly the same. 7 minus 36, remember subtraction is the same as adding the opposite, so if that's helpful for you to think about. Different signs, so we're going to subtract. 36 minus 7 is 29, and the bigger value is negative, so my answer is negative. All right, in this third example, we have some parentheses, so we always want to do what's in the parentheses first. So 5 minus 3 is 2, and then I'm going to rewrite everything else exactly the same. Now I've gotten rid of the grouping symbols, so now I move on to exponents. 2 to the second power is 4. Rewrite everything else exactly the same. Do division before addition. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then we can do our last step. 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, so now we're going to move on to some fraction operations. So if we're dealing with fraction, here's kind of a helpful note. You can think about it really has hidden parentheses on the numerator and on the denominator. So we're going to simplify each of those first and then do the division at the very end, or if it doesn't divide evenly, we'll just leave our answer as a fraction. So I'm going to work with the numerator. 4 plus 3 is 7. That's the only operation on the top, so I can go ahead and just do it. The denominator has 2 operations, so we got to do the division before the subtraction. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. Rewrite everything else exactly the same. 14 minus 1 is 13. So after I have simplified the top and the bottom, that is my fraction. And if we could divide those evenly, we would. That would be our very last step, but this one does not divide, and I can't simplify it, so I'm going to leave that as my final answer. So 7 is my numerator, 13 is my denominator. Okay, here we're going to utilize our fraction operations. So I'm going to do division before addition, but I'm going to use my fraction division rules. So my fraction division rules are keep the first fraction, change to multiplication, and flip the second one. And then multiply straight across. So 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 1 is 3. So I did this operation and got 2/3. So now I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem exactly the same. So we have 1/5 plus. Now my fraction operations for rules for addition is I need a common denominator. 5 and 3 both go into 15. So I'm going to multiply the first one by 3 to get it to be 15. And the second one I'm going to multiply by 5. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 5 gives me my common denominator, 15. 2 times 5 is 10, and then 15. Have my common denominator, so now add straight across. Keep the denominator, and 13/15 does not reduce, so that is my final answer. All right. Okay, next we are going to look at square roots and exponents. So if we have square roots and there's multiple things happening underneath the square root, we want to do what's underneath it first. So it's kind of like it has a hidden set of parentheses inside of it. So I'm going to look within this square roots, and what can I do first? So I have some parentheses and some subtraction. So I'm going to do that first. So 8 minus 1 is 7. I rewrote everything else exactly the same. Now I'm going to do this. I'm still working underneath that square root first. So 16 minus 7 is 9. Now that I have simplified underneath it as much as I can, now I can actually take the square root. So square root of 9, what times itself gives me 9, is 3. So negative 13 plus 3, 13 minus 3 is 10, and the bigger number is negative. So negative 10 is my answer there. Okay, absolute value, we've talked about this before, but they act as parentheses, so we want to do what's inside it first, and then take the absolute value. So inside here, I have 4 squared is 16, so I have 8 minus 16 inside. Now I can do that subtraction. 8 minus 16 is negative 8. So now that I've simplified as much as I can, now I can actually evaluate that. Absolute value of negative 8 is just 8. Rewrite everything else exactly the same. 4 minus 8, or again, you can think about that as 4 plus negative 8, different signs, so subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4, but 8 is the bigger one and it's negative, so negative 4. All right, a couple more here, guys. This one is has many grouping symbols, so if that ever happens, you always work your way inside out. So if you have multiple sets of parentheses or brackets, always start with your innermost one. So in here, I have this set of parentheses that's inside the bracket, so I want to start there. So I'm going to divide 4 divided by 4 first. And I'm going to rewrite everything else. Okay, so now I can go one step further, and 6 minus 1 is 5. Okay, so I've gotten rid of that set of parentheses, so now I'm working inside these brackets. So inside the brackets, I have subtraction happening here and here, and I have an exponent, so I got to do that exponent first. So negative 2 in parentheses squared means negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. So yes, I have the minus there, but this is positive 4, I'm just rewriting that minus here. Okay, I have strictly subtraction, so I'm just going to work left to right. 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. And I've done everything I can in the bracket, so I went ahead and got rid of them. So now 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. Alrighty, last order of operations example. So this one we have some decimals here. So we are going to work our way with the innermost parentheses first. So 3 minus 1.5, or 1.5, is 1.5. Rewrite everything else. Okay, so now I have exponent and multiplication. So we're going to do the exponent next. I'm still working inside these brackets here. So I've got 9 minus 2 times 1.5. That 4 is being multiplied by everything that's in there. Okay, so now I can do this multiplication. 2 times 1.5 is 3. So now I have 9 minus 3. Rewriting everything else exactly the same. 9 minus 3 is 6. Okay, 4 times 6 now then is 24. So I have 2.4 plus 24, which is going to be 26.4. Okay. All right, guys, so that is it for order of operations, but we're also going to do a couple evaluating expressions examples. So again, here's a really good chance to pause the video and copy down some notes. This is also from section 1.6. So we're going to spend 2 days on 1.6, but this will help get you guys ready for that. Maybe give it a second to focus. There we go. Okay, so here are some notes we're going to talk about. This should be review as well, but these are some vocab words that you want to know and we're going to be using throughout algebra. So the first one is variable. Variable is a letter representing an unknown value. Can be any letter. Most common one we like to see is x, but it can be anything. A constant is a fixed number without a variable, so any of our regular numbers that we're used to seeing. A term is either of those, a variable, a constant, or the product of both. So here's a bunch of different examples of what a term could look like. Terms are always going to be separated by addition and subtraction, so a term is something tied together with multiplication. A number being multiplied by a variable is called a coefficient, so that number in front is called the coefficient. And then an expression is a term or multiple terms joined together. So an expression is something without an equal sign. If it has an equal sign, we call it an equation. Okay, so here is what we're going to be doing. We are going to be given an expression and given a variable value. What we're going to do is we're going to substitute that value in for the variable, and then we're going to simplify using our order of operations. So something really important here is we want to use parentheses when we're plugging that value in. So this expression is 2x plus 1, or 2 times x plus 1, but they are telling me that x is 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace every x with 7. And notice I'm using parentheses to do that. So now I'm just going to use order of operations. 2 times 7 is 14. So this becomes 14 plus 1, which gives me 15. Here we have two variables, but again, they're giving me values to substitute in. So we are going to put 7 in for every x and 2 in for every y. So 4 instead of x, we're putting in 7 with parentheses, plus 3 instead of y, we're putting in 2 with parentheses. And now this is just an order of operations problem. We have multiplication, multiplication, addition, and division. So multiplication, division, we just work from left to right. So 4 times 7 is 28. 3 times 2 is 6. And now we want to do this division before the addition. So 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So now we have 28 plus 3, which gives us 31. Okay, a couple more here. X is 3, so we're replacing that x exponent with a 3. Plus 4 divided by y is 2. And then x again is 3. Order of operations, working with the grouping symbols first. 4 divided by 2 is just 2. So this becomes 2 to the third. Do the exponents again, we'll just kind of work left to right. 3 to the third is 27. 2 to the third is 8. So 27 plus 8 is 35. All right, last example for this video, guys. X times y squared. X is 1/2. Y is -3. So order of operations, we want to do this exponent before this multiplication. Now that squared is just on the y, it's not also on the x. So we're doing -3 in parentheses squared, which means -3 times -3, which is 9. Now I'm going to put that 9 over 1 since I'm working with fractions, and I can use my fraction rules of multiplying straight across. 1 times 9 is 9, 2 times 1 is 2. All right, guys, that's it for 1.6, and like I said, there's 2 assignments to go with these lessons, so that's why this one was a little bit longer. Thanks for tuning in.